No, Bo-Katan's big. His pronouns are they, them. Start your sublight engines. It's time for RuPaul's Pod Race, a queer Star Wars podcast. Welcome back to another week of chaos. My name is Ollie. My pronouns are they, them. You can find me on social media at Ollie Fresh. It's fresh with a PH. And my gender this week is your name / Trapper Wolf.
No.
I feel like I've just been literally a brick to the head. Like I said about a lot of things.
I hate you.
I had to process for a second and realize what you just did to me.
Somebody look on AO3. Does that already exist? Hi, my name is Klaudia. My pronouns are she, her. You can find me on social media at Kalludia says, K-A-L-U-D-I-A says. My gender of the week is Canon Union member, Kanan Jarrus. Hashtag IATSE strong. Shout out to the potential Hollywood strike happening, but if you read A New Dawn, Kanan Jarrus is, I don't know if they say explicitly that he's in a union, but he is some form of industrial worker, and I do feel like he has solidarity with the people, and that's a part of the plot of the book. So shout out to Kanan and his union organizer era. I love that for him.
Hi, my name is Jess. My pronouns are they, them. You can find me on TikTok and Twitter at Kawaii Jessyo. And my gender this week is Jess and Marcion Rowe are the same person. This is a Hatoful Boyfriend AU fanfic. I will be receiving no criticism at this time. Thank you. Next person.
I'm Noah. My pronouns are he, him. You can find me on TikTok at the Jewish Jedi. And my gender this week, which I should preface, is only funny to me, is my favorite polycule 2-methyl-3-diethylpropane, which is the name of the organic molecule that is the same shape as the Stellan Avar Elzar Telluric and several others polycule.
What the
Fuck out, you fucking nerd.
I said it would only be funny to me, okay? Also, that is not, if anyone listens to this and that is not the actual chemical structure, don't come for me. I started OChem 2 weeks ago.
Hi, my name is Mel. I use they, them pronouns. You can find me on social media at Grunkle Rex. And my gender this week is Korsh Panaka's Girl Boss Avengers.
So in this episode, we are going to be talking about a couple of ships that we all like. Everyone has brought one to the table, and we are going to go through them, talk about some of the things we like about them, why they're important to us, etc., etc. But let's go ahead and get into it. Is everyone ready?
I feel like we should have the disclaimer that, I guess each of us will talk about, if this is our, number one favorite ship, because I know for some of these, it was, there are certain ships that are either canon or, that everybody agrees on, that we were these do not need an argument for them. They didn't need an extra push. So we just chose ones we wanted to talk about today. That doesn't mean other ones we don't value as much.
I know that Klaudia just kind of said that, this isn't necessarily everyone's favorite ship, or this isn't necessarily super popular or whatever. I take issue with both of those statements, because the one I picked today that I know is probably going to be a huge shocker for everyone who knows me, but it is Kallus and Zeb.
Oh my god.
I know, I bet you guys didn't know that I cared about those
God,
two.
you're a Kallus shipper?
Yeah, I'm coming out as a Kallus shipper.
What part of Star Wars are they from?
But that's a really good question. So they're actually from this really cool show. It's called Star Wars Rebels. It was on Disney XD. No, but I do want to talk about them a little bit because they're very important to me. And I just think they're super neat. I think something that really resonates with me about them is their ending. Because I did watch Rebels all at once. I didn't watch it when it was coming out. So I watched it very quickly, and I think I already knew that Kallus was going to join the rebellion, so I wasn't watching it in the state of mind being whoa, what's happening? But that ending that the two of them have together is so special. I think they're one of the few popular ships that really ended up together. So it's their ending was intentionally left ambiguous. So you could look at that and be yeah, I can fully believe that the two of them went on and got married and settled down and have a life together on Lyrasan. And there's nothing in canon at all that says that that's not the case.
A good old Korosami.
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, absolutely. I mean, it is very much like that, except unfortunately, there is no comic of the two of them going on fun little gay adventures. As much as I would like that, if anyone would like to contact me, I have ideas. But yeah, I think their ending is just, it's just very good.
There's a fine line between when you're a homo watching TV and being like, these are gay because I like them, and these are gay because the text is really kind of going there. And I remember like my experience of watching Rebels was like, I saw like the more and more interactions they had, I was like, now wait a minute. I was like, something is brewing here, which I think is funny because like a lot of gay ships, as fun as they are very much like kind of wishful thinking. But I remember seeing the ending for Kallus and being like, okay, so we all watched this, right? Like we all saw that they met the parents.
How many of you guys watched Rebels as it was coming out?
Not me.
So I'm the only one who did.
I literally just watched Rebels earlier this year.
So what Noah just said is exactly how people felt, because like in that last season of Rebels, like obviously there's a lot going on. A lot of crazy shit does go down, and you're very sad, and it was very step on the gas. Obviously the sequels were coming out. Just there was a lot happening, and there was a big gap between season 2 and season 3, and then then season 3 comes out, and then season 4, and it was just like, wait, hold on, wait a minute, pause. This is a little fruity. Hold on. And they were like, and he meets his parents, and it was like, I'm sorry? Like, I did feel clubbed over the head by it. I also make the Korosami joke because I did also watch that as it happened live. It did feel the same, where it was like, didn't see that one fucking coming. I felt like hit over the head with a brick with it. Not that there wasn't stuff building up to it. It was just like, wait a minute. Is this?
Like, are they going there?
Yeah, literally. Yeah. I was literally like, Star Wars is doing what?
I did also watch Korosami happen live, so I know that feeling quite deeply. I think just like, this is something I saw in a TikTok like months and months ago, but it was saying like one of the things that does set them apart is that it really is like supported by the text, even if it isn't like explicitly confirmed, because there's a line, I can't remember exactly what the line is, that Sabine says when she's doing the narration about like where all the Rebels gang ended up, and she does say like they went back to Lyrasan and they accepted Kallus with open arms as one of their own, and I was like, hello?
I feel like they're also one of those ships where like when you get there you're like, okay, these bitches gay. And then as you look back through earlier moments in the show, you're like, so this has been there for a while. Like my brain is connected that Korosami and Kallus are halfway there to the exact same ship. Because the thing about Korosami that was funny is that once it happened in season 4, I was like looking back at the rest of the show and being like, they've been gay the whole time. And it was sort of this like, I noticed it while it was happening while I was watching Rebels, but when the very end came, I was like, I have to go back. I have to know what's happening right now.
I don't tend to rewatch things, and I'm rewatching Rebels right now. Now I'm on my second rewatch because I'm showing it to other people. And because I saw as it was coming out, so I haven't had that context, whatever. Seeing those first 2 seasons now with that context does make me feel crazy. Like my friends know that I like Calzeb, whatever, and they were like, is that? And I was like, oh no, just purge that from your brain, whatever. And I'm sitting there absolutely freaking out because I'm like, the dots, they were always there. And they were much more there than with Korosami, because with Korosami, like they've admitted, they were like, yeah, we just kind of thought like, oh, this would happen. Yeah, sure, fuck it. And then like the 3rd or 4th season. But like, Dave Filoni has said he's been like, yeah, if you guys want, much like Mark Hamill, he's been like, yeah, if you guys want it to be gay, it's gay, but it is a love story between 2 men, whether they're friends or otherwise. He has explicitly said that. He's like, it is about the love between them. I like to leave it open to interpretation of what that means to you, but he has always meant it that way, and going back to watch it makes me feel fucking bonkers.
Absolutely. So I watched Rebels for the first time this year, and in the time since, I have rewatched it 6 times. Truly, like maybe every like 2 to 3 weeks, I'm like, I'm gonna rewatch Rebels. Let that be with like friends or just out of enjoyment. When I first watched Rebels, I was very confused because I knew people liked Kallus and Zeb together, and watching the first 2 seasons, I was like, huh? Because, you know, I think that they have some vibes. I think, and then that's what I actually ended up really finding interesting about Kallus was like the reconciliation that is their relationship, because Kallus is not a good person when they meet. Kallus, you know, does perpetuate a genocide of Zeb's people, and so their entire relationship is about like reconciling that. And I think that it's not a perfect story about reconciliation, but it's definitely one of the better ones that Star Wars has done. And so that's why Kallus has a special place, at least in my heart.
No, I agree 100%. I think I was thinking about this earlier when I was thinking about like what I was going to say. And I think there are so many stories about quote unquote redemption in Star Wars, and rarely do we ever see someone survive past deciding to do the right thing. So Kallus is one of the few examples that we get of that. And while we definitely could have seen more of him actually putting the work in, and I would have loved to see a conversation between him and Zeb in season 4 where they're like, hey, so sorry about that. I'm doing my best to not have that happen anymore. And Zeb's like, so true, bestie. I would have really liked to see that. But that being said, I think this story is from the beginning, like from season 1, one of the first real times we really see Kallus is him being like, I did do a bad thing to your people. So it is like, you really can't have one without the other. And like their stories are so intertwined, because every episode that really dug into Zeb as a character involved Kallus like very, very strongly. Like the episode where Chava and Gron and have to go back to Lyra-san, and Zeb's like, come on, besties, let's go. Like Kallus is involved in the prophecy of the Lasat people. And I think it's like, it's so crazy to me how deeply entwined their stories are, and how like complete that arc felt like at the end. How it was like, hey, remember this, the character who was the villain from season 1, he is now getting gay buried on a planet with one of the main characters.
We said this in our large crosshair discussion, whatever, but the difference between many characters in Star Wars and characters in other pieces of media and a Kallus, or there are a small few in Star Wars of good stories of redemption, or attempts at least redemption, is that there's 2 pieces here. Ollie, you said the part about how like he lives, so we are able to see him work towards it, and it is more again of atonement, working towards redemption, and like doing active acts of atonement, and also that through the story, like he's paired with Zeb because it also like it's about Zeb and his people and what is their reaction and how do they take it. It's not just about him and his little feelings. And that is the difference. That's also the difference if you talk about Zuko, but we won't get into that discourse. But that's also why that I like, speaking of them as a ship, I find it interesting that it's not just that like, because there are lots of foils for each other, a protagonist and an antagonist, whatever, that someone could say, enemies to lovers or ship them or whatever, which is totally cool and totally fun or whatever. There's even other stuff in Rebels, like for example, Hera and Thrawn are very much foils of each other, whatever, but they're not in a romantic in any way, shape, or form. There are characters in everything that are tied narratively together like that, but specifically the way that Kallus and Zeb are tied together are the way that romance is often coded, and a romance that takes a bit. That's why someone, it's, and again, often the rule is, of whether it's queer baiting or whether it's just, I like these 2 characters together, is like, if one of them was a woman, would they have gotten together? If the answer is yes, then that's the difference. And definitely I think if one of them was a woman, they would have kissed at the end. So
I think also there is something to say about like the narrative there, that like I think given either more time in season 4 or season 5 that could have been delved into, like Kallus's time during the actual rebellion, I think could have had some flavor of like people having to learn how to trust him and for him to like have to earn their trust. The idea of Alexander Kallus and Leia Organa interacting has just made me feel insane. But we won't get into that.
I think something that's funny about them too is I think a lot of people look at them and say like, oh, it's the enemies to lovers of it all. And I'm like, I think that that's incredibly valid. But I think of it honestly, for me, it is less about the like enemies to lovers, and it's more about the finding someone who complements the bad parts in you and finding someone who makes you want to better yourself as a person. Because I have joked before, is Alexander Kallus did have a luck of the draw encounter with the Catboy, and he did become radicalized. So I think that it's very powerful, but I do think obviously there's more to it than that. But truly watching the honorable ones, when you know how it ends, like when you have that context, even when you don't, when you watch the honorable ones, you're like, is this a fan fiction? Like, who wrote this?
No, a very fun thing to do is if you introduce someone to Rebels, just say to them, be like, hey, once you get to the Ice Planet episode, let me know. And then they will get back to you and they'll be like, oh, I understand why you flagged that one for me. I'm like, it was gay, right? And they're like, extremely. Has happened to me at least 5 times.
Yeah, I did gaslight my friend when I watched it with them. For the first 2 seasons, I pretended to like hate Kallus, and I was like, fuck that guy, like, watching with friends, like, you're doing whatever. And then the honorable ones happened, and they looked at me, and I looked at them, and they were like, what just happened there? And I was like, interesting. And from there, we like went on, and they were like, is Kallus Fulcrum? And I was like, who is to say? And it was like a really fun adventure. I loved that.
Yeah, I just really like them. I think they're really cool. I love their story. I love that they're like narrative foils, and they're well written narrative foils. Like, I love them. I love that the story ends with them, like, with Kallus reconciling and truly being forgiven by the people that he perpetrated violence against. So I think that's super powerful. I love the idea that they settled down on Lyrasan together, and I love their kids. I think that like Revan and Mara Jade were such a good addition to the Star Wars universe. Like, I love that. I hope we get to see them in the Ahsoka show, and I do genuinely. I think every time I bring up like, yes, I'm so excited. Like, I really hope we get to see Zeb in like the Ahsoka show. Everyone's like, oh, but he's gonna look so bad in live action. I'm like, I do not care. He could look horrible. They could literally just put his like a 3D rendering of his Rebels model with no hair. He could look like he could just be Steve Blum in a mocap suit with no animation. I would not care. I want to see that gentleman again.
So we have been in the Empire era. Today we will be going to the era of the New Republic, which is not an era I talk about a lot. But because this is our podcast, I will be discussing a polycule. I will be discussing that I like to call the sequels polycule, which is as follows, for me anyway. Hello, my name is Poe Dameron. This is my boyfriend Finn. This is his girlfriend Rey. This is her girlfriend Rose, and this is her girlfriend Jana. Now, there are several options to this. The end of that straight line, it is a straight line. It could be more of like a Big Dipper situation at the end with 3 women. Rey could have several girlfriends. They could be dating each other. It could be a full loop, unfortunately, because this is the sequels, we do not get enough of anybody's character except for Poe Dameron, because he has several books and comics that, unfortunately, I have not read yet. So the cool thing about the sequels polycule is that it could be a straight line, it could be a loop, it could be a Big Dipper. It has options. It is built on, obviously, the angle structure of Jedi Storm Pilot, which we all do know and love. It's very much built on the fact that Rey was like, hi, I have a wonderful boyfriend, but I now have joined the Resistance. I brought my very wonderful boyfriend to the Resistance, and now I have met women, and I just think Rey's had a hard time and Finn has had a hard time, and they all deserve to be happy. Also, the era of the sequels coming out was a wild time in Star Wars fandom. I'm not gonna lie to you. And I just think a lot of problems can be solved by shipping everyone together. So they just mean a lot to me. Also, I very much love Finn Rey a lot. I just very much love Finn Rey a lot, and then I'm like, but there are other people here that I find very important, and I want to think and talk about that today. So
I'm just saying, when you were like, I think a lot of problems can be solved by shipping multiple people together. Is that not like at this point the mission statement of this podcast? It's just to make as large a POV. We solve 3 intergalactic wars with the power of polycule.
Listen, if this podcast is nothing if not polycules or making a straight relationship gay by making the man a he, him lesbian.
Or an MLM. Those are the 3 tenets. Gaslight, gatekeep, girl boss. So I'm curious to know, like, what is your... I hate saying, like, what's your source material? But, like, is there a particular fan fiction that brings you joy, or is it just the concept in general?
So here's what had happened is... In early sequels fandom, there was a very special time that I hold very dearly in my hand, after The Force Awakens came out, where it was a beautiful time. There was just so much good fic coming out. There was a lot of good Finn Poe. There was a lot of good Finn Rey. And there was just a lot of, like, imaginative stuff out there because we didn't know a lot about the characters and people were speculating a lot. Unfortunately, now we are still speculating because we still don't know a lot about them, but we won't get into that. But it was just a really cool time because there was just a lot of cool options. Shout out to the Prince Finn situation. Always fucking immaculate. Those are always great.
I think of Prince Finn. The problem is I gaslight myself because I took so long to watch the second and third sequel movies that I was like, that's just what happened, right?
Yeah, literally. There was just so much creativity in that era, and also, like, just a lot of fan meta and talking about how, like, they love each other or whatever. And also, I think at that point, Rey had not met Poe, so there was just a lot of, like, cool and fun jokes about, like, how they would interact and all these kinds of stuff. And I think that was also part of some of the disappointment when The Last Jedi came out and they were all separated, which, to be fair, in Empire, they all get separated a little bit too. People do know this about me. I am not a big fan of The Rise of Skywalker. However, did I receive an infinite amount of serotonin from that one scene in The Rise of Skywalker where they just stand there and they hug for, like, a solid 2 minutes? The 3 of them. I was like, this invented love. Like, I don't know what happened. We're not going to discuss what happened before this. But they stood there and before this, during the movie, I was feeling like, I hate Star Wars. I never want to interact with it ever again. And then that scene happened. I was like, you know what? They did make at least one point. I felt that way during, like, when they had the voices of the Jedi, and I did hear, like, Kanan and Ahsoka, and I was like, okay, maybe they made, like, one point. And then they had that moment when they all hugged, and I was like, this is what I was waiting for the entire time. I wish Rose and Jenna were also there.
I am going to out myself as a Rise of Skywalker enjoyer. That is a movie that I enjoyed up until one exact moment, and then immediately after that ended, I continued to enjoy the movie. So I basically just pretend that one thing didn't happen, and I'm not going to get into that. But I do remember at the end, I was very emotional, and when that happened, I did see it in the theaters with my dad, and he did cry a lot when the 3 of them hugged. And then I am just like, I'm like, dang, you can, like, ship that polycule or not, but you cannot deny how important these characters are to each other. And I really wish we had gotten to see a little bit more of that, like, in the text. But that being said, the payoff that we get, like, it's such a beautiful scene for that trilogy to end on.
This shouldn't come as a surprise because I'm pretty sure I've said several times before on this podcast and just on my TikTok in general that I am a sequels enjoyer because the sequels is what I started with. And so I also don't hate the Rise of Skywalker, like, but maybe it's because, you know, I watched the sequels first, and so to me I was just like, yeah, this is fine, and I didn't care about Star Wars before that. There are parts of that of the Rise of Skywalker that could be better, but I also did like get emotional seeing the like Poe, Finn, and Rey hug and reunite at that moment. And I do agree with Klaudia where it would be even more epic if Rose and like Jano were like there. Everyone just hug everyone. This podcast really is polycules persevering, huh? Because I do also agree where everything would be so much better if you ship everyone with everyone. Then there's no shipping wars because, you know, they're all in a relationship.
Throughout all of the sequels, I'm not the only person who have been like, a lot of the love for these characters has come from the charisma and talent of the actors behind them because the writing didn't give them a lot. And so they really put their whole foot in this one. So like they really were like, listen, we have great chemistry with each other on screen, whatever kind of chemistry that is. And we are gonna give everything to these characters with each other, even though, and that's like where people got like something from nothing. And so then you get this, like, it's literally just a scene with them hugging, and it was just like, wow, amazing, show-stopping, incredible.
I will also out myself as, I would say I enjoyed most of Rise of the Skywalker, whatever the fuck it's called. As you can tell, I'm a real fan. The vibe at I would say the first quarter of the movie is absolutely immaculate for the Kuel, because the moments that we get with them just like going on little adventures is so fucking good. Like when they go to meet Lando, I was like, I get it actually. This is an epic trio, and the idea of Rose and Jaina then also being like, you know what? Can we get in on this? Yes, absolutely. I love that.
What's really interesting is that when we have been given very little about these characters, what we do know about them is their relationship to each other, or at least the beginnings of their relationships to each other. And that's why it's very much like, if anything, they've got each other, and so like the basis is, yeah, fuck yeah, I am shipping them. Is it unfortunate that we don't get more? Absolutely, but it does give you a lot of character work to work with, and that's always just fertile ground for fan fiction. I like to root for an underdog. I also I'm not gonna lie to you, in the Rise of Skywalker, those outfits that Finn and Poe were in, I was like, whoever was doing the costumes. Also Rose, hello ladies. And then Jana comes in on that like horse and all that business. I was just like, hi, you're all just very attractive. And I'm having a moment. They all just looked really hot in that movie. And I unfortunately there was a lot of other shit going on. But they did look really great. And I was like, what if they kissed?
I think that all of like the main trios of the Star Wars movies have had really great chemistry, but I think in specific the sequel trilogy, I think the actors just have an insane level of chemistry with one another, and I think that also just is really the cherry on top of it all.
I wanted to say something along that line, and then I think we need to move on, but the thing about like specifically Poe, Rose, and Finn, yeah, sure, but like Poe, Rey, and Finn, is that I actually believe that they're friends and want to spend time with one another. Like, I'm a prequels defender because I grew up on them, but like, I don't believe a single person in those movies wants to be near the people they're around.
Well, I actually think, like, because I'm always one of those people who's like, look at the facts, look at the parallels of like with the original trilogy. You can really compare Poe to Leia, and you can really compare Finn to Han, although you can also compare him to Leia because he's force sensitive. But there's a lot of Han and Leia parallels between Finn and Poe, and obviously with Luke with Rey. But like they actually are the most like the original trilogy.
Welcome back to the Empire, but also welcome back to the Chiss ascendancy.
Yes!
Because you know what I'm bringing to the table. I brought this up on our good pal Darth Chaco's podcast too. Thranto, you know, Thrawn ex Eli Vanto, for those who are not aware, is very special to me. They are the most important Star Wars to me. Sorry to every other ship that I might ever mention, but Thranto. And I guess tropes that I like with them, like a reluctant little cowboy man getting thrown into this relationship of being Thrawn's translator and, like, you know, working under Thrawn, and then just the two of them over time slowly falling in love. I do think that Thrawn was already in love with Eli from the moment he saw him, and Eli just over time slowly learning to love Thrawn. And there is like evidence in like the Thrawn novels, I feel, and the comics, or the comic which is based off the first Thrawn like canon trilogy book, but it's there, and I truly believe that they could be a thing, and if they aren't, then I will personally go and fight Timothy Zahn in a parking lot.
POV, the Revolves Padmé's hosts fight Timothy Zahn until he canonizes Thranto. The thing about Thranto that I love is that they actually do. I am tempted to say that they're queer coded because I say that about a lot of things, but they have a lot of those lines where you're like, now wait a minute. And there's one in like the first 40 pages of the first Thrawn novel where Thrawn's like, you hold my life in your hands because you hold my words. And I was like, that's not something straight people say to each other. It's not. And there's another scene later on where Eli jokes and he's like, well, to get that done, you'd have to become an admiral. And Thrawn fully is like, okay, guess I'll become an admiral, and just like does, and like the rest of the book just follows Thrawn doing that, seemingly, I guess, just to get Eli's life together, which I find very funny. Ollie just put in the chat, Minnesotan Eli Vanto, period. But I like them a lot. I think that their relationship also like holds water and is interesting to examine, especially because half the time, like half of the Thrawn book is Eli being like, I'm not that smart, and Thrawn's like, I disagree, and I am fascinated by you and your human brain, and I love everything about it.
Yeah, so I do have like my copies of the books like with me right now, and I have like bookmarked parts that I wanted to bring as like evidence to like say like, look, listen to these and tell me that these are not like this is not kind of like queer in some way. So this is why I was very quiet during Ollie's like Kallus like moment, because I was flipping through the Thrawn books and trying to find evidence of Eli and Thrawn. I'm so sorry to out myself like this.
I do like that you have chosen a ship that is quite literally the enemy of mine. Yeah. So it's like Kallus versus Thranto, actual canon fight. I do enjoy that a lot.
I don't think like Eli never got to meet like the ghost.
So Eli didn't, but Thrawn did beat Kallus's ass very, very
That's what
much.
Eli does to a motherfucker.
Yeah, well, that is true. That's another like canon like point for Thranto is the fact that throughout all of Rebels, it is just what no Eli Vanto does to a motherfucker.
Eli is the reflection of humanity to Thrawn. So the second that he's gone, Thrawn is like, it's crazy. I wicked don't give a fuck about what happens now. Not to say that he like spirals and becomes violent, because he was already doing preemptive strikes in the Chiss Ascendancy. So no, I think that there is a clear a line of succession from the Chiss Ascendancy books to where we see Thrawn in Rebels, but that's neither here nor there. But there's just something very powerful about Eli being like, my boyfriend has sent me away. I am going, goodbye. And Thrawn said, let's go ape shit. Also, I just wanted to say, I think Eli Vanto, I can't say I kin Eli Vanto, but I hate how much I do love and relate to that boy. Because I'm like, you are a fascist, but there's something about being a rural gay person that is so Eli Vanto, and it's just like, you get me, you funky little queer.
I had to actually fight Jess to the death for this one, and I'm very mad that they got to do this one. But what makes me feel crazy, nothing is funnier to me than things that are incredibly homosexual that a straight person makes by accident. Shout out to Supernatural. But in this case,
Don't shout them out.
I hate that because normally, Klaudia, if you brought up Supernatural, I would argue with you, but I'm like, I feel like Timmy is kind of on the level of like the Supernatural, like I'm trying to make something so straight that it is gay.
But to be fair, like, not in a bad way. Like, this man, he went, okay, I have the chance to relaunch one of my most famous characters into the canon, and I need to show him as a full person. I need to show him as a full person in that first Thrawn novel. And his first idea to do that is to create this character, Eli Vanto, who is, like, going to teach him the power of friendship and love. Like, literally, when I say that, it is not a joke. Like, that is the premise of the fucking book. It is the last fucking paragraph, and it makes me feel insane. And sometimes I feel like I've gaslit myself, and I go, okay, maybe it's not. And then I read it again, I'm like, oh my god, like, literally, the beginning of the book is, like, almost, like, not a romance, but almost, like, Thrawn is like, sometimes your life is going one way, and then destiny brings you a different way. And that was how I met Eli Vanto. And you're like, are you fucking joking? Is this real? And also, none of the other Thrawn books are in the first person. This first one where we meet Eli, so this is in the first person when we hear all of Thrawn's thoughts. That's the one that made people fall in love with Eli so much that he arguably is one of the most beloved characters that is only in a novel other than, like, who hasn't been brought into anything else. People are fucking crazy about him because we hear about him from Thrawn's point of view, because this whole book, literally, Timothy Zahn's concept for this book was, what if I just had this man compliment this man I made up the entire time? And you're like, I'm sorry, that was your concept, and I was supposed to think that they're just not gay? Like, what is that? I do have a textual evidence in Thrawn Alliances, where Thrawn is hanging out with Anakin. Anakin talks about, like, what Thrawn's mind feels like in the Force, and he says that, like, the texture of his mind, like, feels weird. It was kind of like scientists and mathematicians, but it was, like, neat and like precise and stuff like that. But then I believe it is I want to say it was Thrawn treason, correct me if I'm wrong. There's another one where basically they say that, like, Eli's brain is like an ordered set of numbers. I'm like, so you're telling me that the structure of Thrawn's brain in the Force looks the way that Eli thinks? You're telling me this. I feel fucking bonkers and crazy. Every single thing I learn about them, every time I think about them, I feel bonkers and I feel crazy, and there's, like, textual evidence about it, and that's why it makes me feel insane.
POV, Jess has prepared some quotes for you from the Throvels, the Thrawn novels.
Yeah, the Throvels.
Okay, so from chapter 2 of the first Thrawn book, there's a part, this is on page 30, where Eli's just like, but why me? You never ask about Captain Parker, Colonel Barris, or any of the other senior officers, or even about Emperor Palpatine or the Imperial Senate. Sorry, I should have read that in a little accent like Eli. I'll remember next time. And Thrawn's like, they're not connected to my immediate survival. You are. And then later on the next page, on 31, the quote that we always talk about of Thrawn being like, you are my translator. You hold my words in your hand and their meaning. Which, just like, that's something. That's pretty gay. I don't know any straight person would say that. Like, if you're a straight person, would you say that about your, like, same-sex, like, coworker, that, like, you hold my words in my hand, you are so important to my survival? Yes, Klaudia?
I will also just say that's not just like a, oh, maybe he's just foreign, like Chiss thing. We see him in the Chiss Ascendancy where everyone's like, nah, that bitch is just fucking weird. No, he is just a dramatic gay person. Not all the Chiss are like that.
We also have not mentioned that one of the maybe funniest things about their relationship, which is to say the living situation. Because in the Thrawn Ascendancy books, we see this Chiss couple that is courting, and they are not sleeping in the same room together. And that could, of course, just be their relationship, but it sounds like it's more of like a social moire. So the idea of Thrawn and Eli sharing a room together for an extended amount of time, and then Eli coming to the Chiss Ascendancy and like being like, oh yeah, when Thrawn and I shared a room, and Arlani being like, what? Come again? It's just very funny to me.
Well, and specifically the fact that it's not just, oh, they shared a room because they were in the academy together, whatever. Like, Eli is showing up to the Chiss Ascendancy with Thrawn's fucking diary. Again, what? That's some gay people nonsense, where he's like, hi, I wrote about you in my diary for the years that we knew each other. Here, take it to my older sister, whatever. Like, here's my fucking diary. What is that? But, like, so it's not just, oh, like, we were roommates. It literally, she's like, I'm sorry, there's this man from another species showed up with your fucking diary, and now you're telling me you were roommates out of wedlock? Excuse me? Like, there's a lot of the diary thing anyway.
Diary of that wimpy Chiss.
I was gonna bring that up as the next like little quote thing that I wanted to bring to attention, which is, I'm not gonna read the whole like little passage from Thrawn's diary, but just the part about a friend, which is, I think about that specific part a lot, where it's just like, a friend need not be kept either within sight or within reach. This is, at the end of the first Thrawn book, the epilogue. A friend must be allowed the freedom to find and follow his own path. If one is fortunate, those paths will for a time join, but if the paths separate, it is comforting to know that a friend still graces the universe with his skills and his viewpoint and his presence. For if one is remembered by a friend, one is never truly gone. And Eli reading that from Thrawn's diary and then going off to the Chiss Ascendancy is... who gives their straight friend their diary and then sends them to their home? Like, that's pretty gay too. What's going on here?
From a media analysis standpoint, something that I could talk about for years is that there is this tendency, particularly in military spaces, to write male-male relationships so hard to the point that they like make a full circle and become gay by accident, which I feel like is kind of what happened with Thrawn and Eli. Like, you watch them interact and they're like, we're really good friends, like really good friends, and it's like, you spend too much time together to be buddies. I think you're maybe fucking. Like, that's kind of like, that's the full circle.
I do think a lot about how all of the Thrawn books, especially the Chiss Ascendi books, they do set up Thrawn as a foil for Anakin in a lot of ways, and there are a lot of characters that have parallels, like Arlani being his Obi-Wan, whatever. One could make the argument that Eli Vanto is his Padmé. It is the person that he will like bend everything who he is for, and who he meets, and it changes his entire existence, and who he feels like is a match to him in stuff. Anyways, Eli and Padmé's outfits, absolutely. Anyways, yes, Eli is the Padmé of this situation, but he survives because he gets sent to the Chiss Ascendi. So
I can see that, like, Thrawn going to great lengths to help Eli too, like when he figured out, like, hey, like, because Price, I hate talking about Price, but her being in the first Thrawn book and like telling Thrawn, because Thrawn doesn't fucking get it, that like Eli is still an ensign after like 5 years, like even though he should have like already like moved up in the ranks, but he's still like just an ensign because of like they can't fuck with Thrawn, so they're like, we'll fuck with the little like cowboy twink that is Thrawn's bestie. And Price has to fucking spell that out for him, and him being like, oh shit, what can I do to help my little twink? And he does, like, go to great lengths to try to figure out what to fucking do to help Eli, even put on those stupid little sunglasses and poncho.
I love the sacrifices Thrawn makes to protect Eli. Actually, I was going to talk about a parallel that I was just thinking about now that I guess I haven't put much thought into it, but because we have the enemy ships here on the podcast, Kallus and Thranto, they have some parallels. Like, Kallus goes.
Oh, you're so right. Yes,
Coruscant,
absolutely.
yeah, and then Eli gets sent to the Chiss Ascendancy, and the difference is that, like, Thrawn doesn't get to go with Eli, and like that is the difference between the two, because Thrawn chooses the Empire over and over again when he shouldn't, because he thinks it's for the not to reference a Thrawn book, greater good, even though it's not, you dumb bitch. It's not the lesser evil either. Anyways, I gotta.
I do also love sorry, I do think the concept of Thrawn of I do like the parallels being fucking Samakro and Gron and
Samakro Gron out of here.
And Arlani and Shava.
I hate you. Did you know that?
Anyway, I have just real quick 2 more like quote things from like Treason this time, which it is my favorite of the Thrawn books. They are about Eli specifically. Like from what chapter is this? Fuck, I need to quote my sources. Chapter 5. I hope this is chapter 5. Timothy's on your chapters are so goddamn long. Yeah, chapter 5. Page 100. Good day, Lieutenant Vanto. Thrawn said, nodding once, and then turning back to Arlani. And then I skipped over this part. Sorry. Eli froze. His own ready greeting freezing in his throat. That was it? Good day, Lieutenant Vanto. All the long months since their last meeting, and that was all the greeting he got. Just Eli Vanto freaking out over the fact that the previous pages he is like thinking about Thrawn, being like, oh my god, I haven't seen Thrawn in over a year. I'm like his only friend. He sent me here on an important mission. I've missed this man. And then he's so ready to like see Thrawn again and be like, hey bestie. And all Thrawn says to him is, good day, Lieutenant Vanto. And Eli's just like, what the fuck? Hello? That's all you have to say to me? And then the mental gymnastics Eli does go through to be like, oh, maybe it's just because, there's all these people here. He doesn't want to make a big deal out of it. Yeah, that's probably it. Because Thrawn and I are in love. So he would never just ignore me like this.
I remember when that book came out and I had waited all that time to I wanted to see my little boy. I wanted to see him again. And then we see him again, whatever. Eli's reaction was my reaction. I had to take a lap when they said good day, Eli Vanto. I was like, I actually didn't like this book for a solid year because I was Eli Vanto in that moment. I was like, fuck this book. I was viscerally angry. But then there's the later part where Eli isn't in the room and Thrawn and Ronan tries to slander Eli and Thrawn is like, listen, you fucking idiot. He kind of goes insane.
Yeah, he's just like, don't fucking say shit about my boy.
That scene in Rebels where the guy says I don't understand art, and Thrawn grabs him and hisses. That scene should have happened with him and Ronan when Ronan was talking shit about Eli. Exactly. He hisses at him and he's like, I forgot that not everyone appreciates art.
I forgot that not everyone appreciates Eli Vanto. Here's the last little snippet I want to bring to attention of Thrawn being like, tell me of Lieutenant Vanto. This is at the end of near the end of the book, chapter 24, page 437, the top of the page. Tell me of Lieutenant Vanto, Thrawn said, and then a talk between him and Arlani about what Eli's doing. And then she says, it was indeed, Arlani said, my official report will feature Lieutenant Commander Eli Vanto most prominently. And then Thrawn's lips might have twitched in a small smile at Vanto's new rank. Pharaoh couldn't tell for sure because that's from, Pharaoh's point of view, and just her noticing that Thrawn kind of smiled at the fact that Eli had become a lieutenant commander in the Chiss Ascendancy's like defense fleet, and him being so proud of his boyfriend.
I love Karen Farrow a lot because she's just also a girl boss. But the part where she's like, so did like Eli Vanto get murdered? Like, what the fuck happened to that bitch? And then he shows back up and she's like, did he send him away? What the fuck?
Jess, you did forget the scene in the first Thrawn book where Thrawn's like, well, we better get to our new ship. There's a lot to learn. And Eli's like, our new ship? And then Thrawn is like, literally like turns around, like he literally is like, he has a smile on his face. He's like, oh, you weren't paying attention? I'm now the captain. And he's like, shall we go? And you're like, this is...
Oh yeah, that's also in the comic. So we do get to see like Thrawn's little like smile to Eli, like, yeah, bestie, I've become captain of a ship and you're coming along with me. Let's go.
And it's very flirty. Like, it's not like, come along, whatever. He's like, are you ready for our next adventure? Like, it's a lot.
I have almost no textual evidence because I refuse to open a book. So I'm going to take us to the High Republic for a second. To talk about two men that have owned my brain for the last like several weeks. And that is Stellan Gios and Elzar Mann. To be clear, I am a full fervent supporter of the Stellan Avar Elzar polycule. I simply want to talk specifically about Elzar and Stellan because they mean the most to me. No offense to you, Avar Chris, you're a girl boss. I just happen to be a gay dude, so I'm more invested in these two. It was funny. I was trying to like look through like tropes that I could try and assign to them, and the funniest one that I found was all the good ones are gay, which is a TV trope in which a bunch of straight characters are like, now wait a minute, this one man is so rocking, and then they're like, that's because he's a homo. Like, that's the plot. And I was like, damn, that's Stellan Gios. Like, Stellan spends 90% of the Rising Star. Also, I guess I should say, like, spoilers for the High Republic up to this point, because it's not major, but I am going to talk about them. But Stellan spends the majority of the Rising Storm, like, doing media appearances and sparring for holovids and, like, doing interviews. And everyone's like, wow, I just love this guy. And I love the idea that they're like, it's because he's a homosexual. The thing about Stellan and Elzar is that they don't have a ton of what I would call like poetic lines where I'm like, wow, that's really romantic. I don't know how to describe this, but they interact in a way that I think gay men interact. Like, there's an extended sequence in The Rising Storm where they're walking together, and something about the way it is written and phrased and happens. I did like live text Mel as I was reading this book, and I got to this part and I was like, this is really gay. Like, they walk and they crack all these jokes and I'm like, yeah, whatever. Like, you know, normalize male friendships. I don't really care about that. I care about gay people. Fuck male friendships. They seem fruity to me, and I really appreciate that about them.
Okay, to be fair, at the end of The Rising Storm, before, I would say, like 10 chapters before the end of the book, when things are good, Stellan is like, Elzar, thank you so much for like telling me about the bad things. We're gonna go on a vacation together. You and me are gonna go to Jedha. It's gonna be fine. Let's go.
Really
bestie.
do.
I totally forgot that.
That was canonical.
That's
canonical.
Let me explain this very quickly. Basically, what happens is Elzar gets really stressed and has some boo-boo moments, and Stellan says in the book, this is like his POV, so it's like an internal monologue thing. He's like, yeah, Elzar's really stressed. I'm gonna book us a vacation together, canonically.
Yeah, I also
That's
should note,
gay.
I kind of forgot that happened in that order, but yeah, like it is that exact direction of someone being like, wow, he seems really upset. I bet we would love a vacation. Like that, yeah, that genuinely happens.
To any like straight listeners following, like straight men, like, is that a thing you have done with your straight male friend? Have you been like, yeah, you having a rough time? I should book you a vacation. Because that doesn't sound like straight people. But
okay,
if
I
you're
have
a straight
spent time
listener
among the
listening,
heterosexual species a number of times, and I will say that, like, yes, that is a thing that they do. But I don't know. I don't know how to like.
But here's this is what I would say about that. I would say that yes, that does happen. Like, I will talk. I have straight male friends. But it's the fact that Stellan also recently was appointed to the council, so he has a big job, he has responsibilities, and he's like, no, Elzar, you and I are gonna have this time together. And like, of course, that also has to do with like their larger friendship, but there is something there that is like, you're my priority. Like, I'm gonna say, actually, like, when the things in Out of the Shadows happen, sorry, Vern, fuck off, you go do this, I've got shit to do.
Elzar makes a number of remarks. He's like, you look really pretty in your temple robes, you fucking weirdo. Like, he literally like remarks about how put together Stellan is. And I'm like, y'all, there's also a number of scenes too. And I'm a big proponent that Stellan is not very good with his emotions, because canonically he is not. But like, there's a number of scenes where Stellan is like, I know that Elzar and Avar are really close, and that's great that they have such a great relationship. And like, you could just feel it from him that he's like, I simply want a man. I feel like their relationship is a more positive version of Brokeback Mountain. I don't understand how to vocalize that correctly, but I feel like I am spiritually correct in suggesting that.
Not Elzar, I can't quit you, man.
No, but like, tell me I'm wrong.
I do really quick want to say that I really enjoy that it is like two of the canonically hot Jedi. The hot people for hot people moment.
So true, Bestie. Like, the book does at multiple times just mention that Stellan is very pretty and Elzar is very hot. I should also note that this gay ass walking scene directly precedes when Elzar canonically fucks. And I find that extremely funny. I feel like he went on a walk with Stellan and was like, I gotta let off some steam.
Also, he does fuck, and the first thing that he thinks when he comes back is he's like, man, I hope Stellan doesn't notice that I just fucked.
Literally.
So, I'm gonna round it out. I'm gonna name some women. I would like to talk about Sabedala, aka Sabe and Padmé Amidala. So, I won't lie. My other co-hosts did choose my go-tos. So I did look at my second string, which feels terrible. But it's also because like we do have content about this ship and like canonical evidence about this. Like Sabe canonically loves Padmé in a romantic way, even though it is not requited, which sucks ass. Yeah, my bi queen Sabe. It's, I don't know, there's some flavor about it. I have a bunch of notes about this, because not only like, so we first see Sabe and Padmé in the Phantom Menace, and there is something, I don't know, there's something powerful ship-wise of like, I have been pretending to be you so you can survive. That is like, ooh, that has some flavor. We love a bodyguard AU.
Literally, I was like, the inherent homoeroticism of like, first of all, you spend all your time together. Second of all, I have not read these books, but an interaction that I think is very powerful is the notion of like having to learn someone so well you can pass as them.
Yeah, that's like a
some
major
bitch.
part of the book.
Also, like,
Bestie.
between two men is one thing. Something about two women getting to know each other so well that they can mirror one in public, that's gay right there.
Well, and it's also that they have gotten to know each other from a pretty young age also. Like all of the handmaidens, if you read the books, shout out to us being the Padmé book enjoyers. But like it's also it has New York's Hottest Club does have it all. Like it does have like unrequited is sure, but it also has that like childhood friend to like very close adult relationship thing. And in Queen's Shadow very specifically, you see Padmé kind of navigating going from being, you know, a teenager to an adult, you know, a queen to a senator, but also literally dealing with how her relationships with her handmaidens evolve, and specifically the handmaidens that she keeps, because some of them go away. And Sabe is the one who stays with her, and she has to deal with like that changing relationship. And it's like, it's a very like real thing about like maintaining a relationship with someone that you grew up with. And it's even in not in just a queer way, it's very interesting, love.
Yeah, the Padmé books, I read both of them in one sitting one day. There's just so much in that book about identity, and like the handmaidens strip all of their identity away to protect Padmé. And there is just some like, well, not all of their identity. They still have like the core of their being, but like their names, they literally changed their names to be more like Padmé. Sabe's birth name is not Sabe. Same with all of the handmaidens. Like, it's so like, holy shit, they go hard for this girl. And just like seeing that progress, and then at the end of, oh god, is it Queen's Peril or is it Queen's Shadow that Sabe is at the funeral? Because
Queen's Shadow.
I think it's Queen's Shadows.
Yeah.
Because I started fucking crying because I was like, god damn, Sabe loved Padmé so fucking much. And like there's like this scene in Peril where like there was a chance for Sabe to have like a normal girlfriend and like a normal life, and Padmé accidentally fucks it up for her, and Sabe's like, it's fine, I love you, and Padmé's like, I love you too, but I don't know if it's that same way, bestie. And she's like, cool, anyways, I'll be your handmaiden for the rest of my life. Cool. And
why aren't these movies?
Yeah.
No,
okay. There's a 12-year-old who, there's a 12-year-old who gets tortured in Queen's Peril, who's one of Padmé's handmaidens, and like in the audiobook, because I listened to the audiobooks, you can hear her screaming and screaming and screaming as she is tortured.
It's insane. Queen's Peril is insane. Like,
Anyways, listen to the Padmé books. They fucking slap. The source material I want to talk about today is actually an AU that I read today. It is called I Remember Dimly by Stitching at the Circuit Board. It is an AU where Padmé brings a knife to the Mustafar confrontation and stabs Anakin. So she thinks she kills Anakin and is like, oh, hey, Obi-Wan, I can't believe you're here. My water just broke. Can we go deal with that? And so she has the kids. Sabe becomes their other mother, and Anakin also lives. So you deal with Padmé having to like deal, like, she loved Anakin, but she also loves Sabe, and Sabe is a constant in her life who cares about her and is willing to like put everything on the line for her, and is also like willing to let go of her in a way that Anakin never could. And there's just so much flavor there.
Now this makes me feel insane.
Yeah, would you like to hear a line that
I would love to.
That really resonated with me? And this is actually, so we also get like other handmaidens' points of view, and also Ahsoka's here. It's a really good AU. I highly recommend checking it out. But this is Dorme. Dorme like runs into Anakin as Vader, and she's like, okay, this is awkward. This is how it goes. Anakin loved her and did not know how to love her, and Dorme pities him for it. Vader wants to love her in order to love himself, and Dorme pities him for it. What the fuck? What the fuck?
So I have not read these books. I am now going to read these books. Other thing is though, I am very, very angry that these are not things I can also watch, because Natalie Portman has the fucking range, and so does Keira Knightley, and so does anyone else they hire for this. I'm like, I know that I've been clawing for like Star Wars political drama my entire existence. This is actually what I want. This is actually what I want to happen.
So this is why I'm very excited for Queen's Hope, because the Queen's Hope is going to take place during the Clone Wars, so we're gonna get politics, love.
If we're not getting Satine Kryze in that book, I will kill. We got a Satine mention in fucking in Shadow.
We're gonna get Ahsoka and Padmé content, which is really is very important to me. I will say this, for those who have not read the Vader comics, Sabe actually does show up in the Vader comic as well. And
I think a bunch of the handmaidens do, right? They become the girl boss Avengers.
In the Vader comic,
Vader rolls up to Padmé's grave, and Sabe and Co are like, "Bitch, we will kill you." And then Sabe and Vader do go on an adventure.
I don't know if it's I don't know if there's many of them left, or I think it's just her and somebody from Alderaan, or like I think it's just two people. I can't remember. I read this one a while ago. But it's she does discover that he is Anakin, whatever, and like you do get to see them like confront, like the two sides of loving Padmé confront each other, and it does make you feel crazy. And this is another one where, like, we were talking about this with Ranto, we were talking about this with Kallus. There is like textual, like, narrative parallel sort of stuff here. That might just be because the people behind it are like, we're gonna make this sapphic or fucking die trying.
Thank you,
And
E.K.
also,
Johnston.
yeah, thank you, E.K. Johnston. And also, shout out to whoever's wrote that Vader comic as well. I gotta check which one that was. But yeah, there's textual evidence for this.
It's half canon, and that's what, like, also hurts me so much about it, as, like, you know, like a young queer person who, like, grew up in a very straight town of, like, loving your best friend. This is not an experience I had, but, like, just, like, that experience is very resonates with me of, like, oh, like, I am attracted to someone who will never feel the same way about me, or if they do, it's not happening. We're ships in the night kind of situation, and that hurts me in a way that I'm obsessed with.
That's a very WLW or like NBLW person like situation.
Let's go, lesbians, let's go.
Yeah, like that's a very familiar feeling, I think, for a lot of people who fall on that, you know, that part of the spectrum of sexuality. So I feel like it's such an interesting emotion that I don't think gets delved into a lot, except for when it's like we have a fun, quirky side character who's in love with the protagonist, when in reality, like, that's not, you know, most of the time it's not, like, it's person. And I think that it's really nice to hear saying, like, hey, just because they, like, in canon, just because Padmé does not feel those same emotions back does not mean that their relationship is meaningless, and does not mean that they are like, okay, besties, goodbye. Like, it's like it lets them have that relationship, and it lets how they experience those feelings, and I think that's really cool.
Yeah, and, like, not to downplay, Padmé also loves Sabe a lot, and, like, I think it is in a little bit of a gay way, but she has Anakin
Leave challenge.
Anakin Get Fucked challenge.
Girl, please, Anakin, I'm begging you, go somewhere else.
I am just thinking a lot now based entirely off of Mel and Claudia's description of this relationship. Unfortunately for gay people everywhere, there are a number of Phoebe Bridgers lyrics that immediately came to mind while you were saying that. One is Moon Song, because she literally has the lyric, "You're sick and you're married and you might be dying," and I'm like,
I'm going the other direction. I'm going to be a musical theater gay here. I apologize. For those of us who are great comet enjoyers, the song Sonia Alone is Sabe singing to Padmé. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. I have talked about Great Comet Star Wars. I could go into it quite a bit, but I won't. I will say, though, it's not just like, oh, unrequited, like, love with a queer person, whatever, in the Padmé books. There are also two handmaidens who do get together and eventually get married. Like, they are gay people. Like, there's more than one gay people. I believe Padmé's sister is the one who's aromantic and asexual as well. Like, we have multiple gay people. It's not just Sabe being like, oh no.
Yeah, like there are handmaidens within the handmaiden squad that, like, their entire arc is like, one of them is like, I don't want to talk to you because I'm so attracted to you. Please get away from me.
It's very funny. Like, they actually, like, this is not a big spoiler, but basically what happens is they have a lot of trouble, like, learning all the stuff for Padmé, whatever, and, like, bonding together because two of them won't fucking speak to each other, and the rest of them are like, why won't they talk to each other? Like, why won't they, like, train together or be alone together, whatever? And it's because they're fucking gay, like, and don't want to deal with their crush on each other. But they're also, like, very young. They're very young, so they're like, I don't know how to deal with this, so I'm just not going to speak to you. I fucking hate you.
Also, the Padmé books canonize periods and swimsuits, so I think that they may be the best part of Star Wars.
And raves and
raves
at raves.
I just wanted to say that, wow, those two handmaidens who, like, can't deal with their, like, crush on each other, that is me, so that's relatable, and I really need to read these fucking books.
They're so good.
It's Yane and Sasha, right?
Yeah. The problem, okay, here's the problem. This is my one problem with the Padmé books, and it's not the Padmé books' fault, it's canon.
George.
Is their names? Because all of them end in the A. I'm like, Sabe, Irte, Rabe, Dorme. I'm like, girl, who are you, A?
No, and then as soon as you learn them all, some of them go away, and she becomes a senator, and then she gets new ones, and then
then there's fucking Dujé. I'm like, girl, where were you, Dujé?
And then in Queen's Hope, it's going to be more confusing, whatever. So you're just like, please, can you keep it consistent? I'm struggling here. I know this has just become an advertisement for the Padmé books, which it should be. Oh, also, if you do read the audiobooks, they are read by the VA for Padmé from
so fucking
the Clone
good.
Wars. So
I just want to say that like our podcast is always us promoting some like book. It was like Thrawn books, The High Republic, Padmé. Come on, we're MLM for the Star Wars books.
when Queen's Hope comes out, we are going to become a problem. Mel, correct me if I'm wrong. Also in Queen's Shadow, I believe, Sabe is canonically bi. She does get with a she does
sleep with a
dude.
man. Yeah.
Yeah, she is also another Star Wars character who canonically fucks, right?
She did canonize fucking. Like, they have the moment where, like, it's a little bit more, I would argue, a little bit more spicier than The Rising Storm in terms of, like,
Absolutely.
like, Elzar and Samira, like, have their moment, and you're, like, fade to black, but, like, anyways.
Do you want to drop the name of that fan fiction?
Oh, yeah,
one more
just
time?
one last time. The name of the fic is I Remember Dimly by Stitching at the Circuit Board. Once again, there are 2 other parts, and I feel like Ventress might be in one of the other parts. I didn't read all of them, so there's that.
Ventress, another bi queen!
Get into it. Welcome to Fantastic. Fantastic is a segment in this podcast wherein I have found and collected some of the just fucking worst fan casts I've seen for characters, and they're not always necessarily bad. Actually, I should correct myself. Sometimes they're pretty good, and sometimes they're just fucking buck wild. So, that being said, are we ready to get into it? So basically, I am going to name an actor or a series of actors, and my co-hosts are going to have to figure out who the fuck these people or this person has been fan casted as. Without further ado, let's start off pretty easy. Willem Dafoe.
Hondo Ohnaka.
No.
That's very
Is it
funny.
a
I
Jedi?
love that. No.
Thrawn.
No.
Willem
Are they
Dafoe.
force sensitive?
They are force sensitive.
Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Plo
No.
Koon.
No. Not a
Is this-
Jedi, once
Is
again.
this someone
they're,
who's
they're not a Jedi.
Maul?
Oh.
is this someone who's been in a piece of live action media
Yes.
before?
Yes.
Oh, so this is a recast. Okay.
Yes.
Force
Is-
sensitive?
Yes.
Are they human or are they an alien?
Human.
Palpatine.
Yes.
Here's the funny thing. I was gonna say that, and then I thought, no,
That's
surely
actually
not.
Kind of powerful. Like, he would body that role. Like,
I'm thinking of the
Willem
way that he
Defriend?
turned. Not Willem Defriend. I'm thinking of the way that he plays it when he turns into Green Goblin in the first Spider-Man movie as his Palpatine transformation, and that like the idea of him like horribly convulsing and then being like unlimited power, like killing Mace Windu.
So, fun fact about Willem Dafoe, he is one of my favorite actors. So the idea of that gentleman playing Palpatine is so funny because of just how his like natural stage presence is. There is not going to be a moment where you trust that motherfucker. Like, maybe maybe in the prequels there's a moment where you're like, oh, he seems like an okay gentleman. No, from the second you see that motherfucker, you're like, oh, there is something off.
wasn't he already in Aquaman with Tim?
He was.
I do have a fun fact to add talking about trusting Palpatine. When I did watch the Star Wars movies with my mother, we did watch them in release order. So we had already watched the original trilogy. We watched the prequels. She did not realize that Palpatine was Darth Sidious until he told Anakin, and Anakin was like, I need to go get my boss. And even then she was like, wait, hold on. Should I know him? And I was like, we'll see. And then she did not truly realize it until he got all messed up because of Mace Windu. And then she was like, oh, just like the guy from the other movies. And I was like, because he is. And she was like, oh.
I just wanted to say, I can't believe Eli Vanto kills William Dafoe.
Okay, for context, there is a fan fiction wherein Eli Vanto's fat ass does, not canonically, force accidentally Palpatine down a flight of stairs, which kills him in a passion. Anyways.
I feel like we've talked about that fic before.
We've had to have, because it's one of my favorite.
Multiple times.
Anyways.
I learned about that fic before I learned who Eli Vanto was.
Are we ready for the next one? Jack Black.
Thrawn.
Nope.
You need to stop guessing Thrawn.
Have they been in live action?
Yes.
Are
But
they
you
more
did-
sensitive?
No.
Here's the thing. You look like you had to think about it. So
I
I'm
did
like,
have to think about it.
were they in a show?
They were in one show, yes.
Clone
Are they in
Wars? Clone Wars?
They were in the Clone Wars.
Are they in the prequels? I assume they're in the prequels.
Only in the Clone Wars. That is not the trilogy that they were originated in.
Jaro Topal. Wait, he was in.
Jack Black's Jaro Topal?
Like someone who has been in the Clone Wars and they've also been in live action.
Yes.
Were they in the original trilogy?
Yes. That is where they were introduced.
The way that my first guess was Tarkin.
Wait, Chewbacca?
No and no.
Okay, Chewbacca's was in the prequels. Okay, so this is a character who was in the original trilogy for like a moment in live action and then was in the Clone Wars.
And also in the
And they-
sequels. You never asked about the sequels.
Is it Akbar?
Yes, it is! Admiral Akbar!
Oh my god! Wait, POV.
Jack
Admiral
Blackbar.
Akbar does camp school abroad.
I fucking can't.
Alternative POV. Admiral Akbar is the Dragon Warrior and trains for the 3 Kung Fu Panda movies. Which,
I
to be
like that
clear,
none of you
I am
acknowledge me
not-
saying 9-nub.
I did not hear Nina, but that is also so
That's
valid.
Powerful.
I do like Jack Black as Nine Nub in the Disney Plus original show, Nine Nub in Motion.
No, we're bringing back some classics this week. Kallus Aurelio's family lore. 9-Up in Motion.
Are we ready for the next one? Zac Efron.
Anakin.
Nope.
young Luke Skywalker.
Nope.
Is this
Are they
a
Fine.
force sensitive?
Not Force sensitive, not Thrawn.
Original
they-
trilogy?
Yes.
Are they a human?
Yes.
Obi-Wan
Solo.
Kenobi.
No.
Wait, they're in the original trilogy and they're force sensitive and they're
No,
not
they're
Luke
not.
Skywalker.
They're not Force sensitive.
Oh,
Han
Big
Solo.
Starlighter.
No.
Damn.
Wedge Antilles.
Yes.
Wedge until
As
Zac
Zac
Efron?
Efron?
Why would they do that when Nathan Kress already voices him?
I don't know, but I was looking through the fan cast as I do, and I was like, there were so many people you could have chosen, and Zac Efron has been fan casted multiple times in different roles, and I can't wait to get into those at a later date. But that was just a choice, you know?
Just the POV the rebellion does. We're all in this together.
Oh my god, I
Wedge
can't wait for the
Antilles
Charlie
bet on
Saint. I can't wait for the Charlie Saint Cloud AU.
I can't with that. This is a series of actors, so you're gonna have to bear with me. Ian Somerhalder, Sacha Baron Cohen, Zachary Quinto.
Is that
Thrawn.
That Thrawn.
Yes, it is Thrawn.
okay? Zachary
More.
Quinto as Thrawn is so funny.
Sacha Baron Cohen as Thrawn is so funny to me.
That-
I feel like he plays like Peepaw Thrawn,
People
which is-
Thrawn
which
outta
is-
here.
which
I
is
would
a
say-
Legends Thrawn.
Zachary Quinto would unironically kill as Thrawn. It would be a weird casting, but he could do it.
What about
he
that
has
general-
the range?
What about that gentleman from the Vampire Diaries? Ian, whatever the fuck.
Ian Somerhalder, I chose not to acknowledge.
He's more of a Samakro, in my opinion.
Okay, actually, wait.
I hate to admit that I know no celebrities. I have to look this man up really fast because I don't know who that is.
I mean, okay, here, I can
He's-
give you a general description, and unfortunately I will describe about half of Hollywood. White guy,
Oh my god!
dark
Wait,
hair.
no, this is what he looks like, look.
No, I looked at a picture. He's the ugly one from the Vampire Diaries.
Yes.
Like,
Yeah.
okay.
I hate to tell you how many episodes of that show I've seen, but
I've only seen the Jenny Nicholson video about
I
the-
was about to say it was like, do you want me to tell you about the plot of the
here's a-
Vampire
here's a
Diaries
fun fact.
books that I
My-
learned from the Jenny Nicholson video?
Here's the last one for the evening. This is the one I've been cherishing close to my heart. It's a series of actors. Rainn Wilson, Patton Oswalt, John C. Reilly, Jason Segel, and finally, Nick Offerman.
So
Who is this?
This is a
Quickly.
large gentleman.
Who is to say?
Chewie?
No,
Is this a human?
no, it's not a human.
Are they in live action?
No, they are not.
Is it Jaro Topal?
No, it is not.
Clone Wars or Rebels?
Rebels.
Okay.
Zeb?
Not
Is
Zeb.
Is it Gron?
Yes, it is Gron. The fact that there's more than one Gron fan cast makes me feel crazy.
I'm so like I'm so
This was made to specifically make Ollie feel crazy.
Rainn Wilson is Gron.
Not Dwight. Not Dwight Gron.
I
I
do
like
like
Nick Offerman, like Gron Swanson is Gron.
Gron Swanson. Anyways, that was
Anyway.
fantastic. Thank you for tuning in. I just wanted to put out this PSA. So I am not running low necessarily on Fancast, but it's one of those things where I'm like, I need to be at the top of my game. So if you see a Fancast that is just what the fuck, send a DM my way at Melvin Culpa or at Grunkle Rex on TikTok.
It's time for Name That Ship. Jess, would you like to take it away?
To remind everyone what Name That Ship is, it is the segment of the podcast where one of the hosts brings a fanfic to the other hosts and like reads the tags and they have to guess what the ship is. And it is like being hit over the head with the price bus. Since we're bringing back oldies in this podcast, I have to bring back price bus again. And just a reminder to don't go looking for these authors or bullying people. We're not trying to poke fun at anyone or be mean. This is all in good fun. And fic writers, I love you and appreciate you. Anyway, so the fic I have prepared is actually, it's part of a series. It's part of a series called My Little Diamond. I will read the tags for the first fic in this 7-part series. It is character A/character B, and then Daddy King, implied sexual content, pampering, sexual tension, older man/younger man. I guess it could be a sugar daddy, considered a sugar daddy at least. Diamonds are fun. AU inside of an AU, as always. And the summary is character B likes to spend his days off at his home. He likes to spend them with someone special.
Can we talk about how Daddy
Jess?
Pink is the second fucking tag?
Klaudia, do you know what
Yes.
fic I'm talking about?
Jess, this was one of my options for today, so I will be refraining from guessing because I already know what this is. It was on my list. Someone's also sent this to me, so
I have no idea even like where to begin. Like, are these characters who know each other canonically?
No.
Okay, but it is two men, right?
Yeah.
I feel like I heard that. Okay. And is character A the sugar daddy or is character
No, character
B?
A is the younger man and character B is the sugar daddy.
Is character A Owen Lars?
No.
Leave Owen Lars out of this. Get away
Okay,
from
second
him.
question. Can you tell us what era the character A is from?
Character A is from the original trilogy.
Is character B also from the original trilogy?
No.
Is character B from The Mandalorian?
No.
Is character B from the prequel trilogy?
No.
Are they from Rebels?
No.
Are they from the sequels?
No.
Are
Are they
a
from
book?
Clone Wars?
They're from Rogue One.
Oh no.
Is it Cassian Andor?
No.
Is Luke
Is-
Skywalker one of them?
Yes.
The reason I asked
Is
was
this-
because I asked about The Mandalorian is because for a second I did think it was Luke Coffin. But
Well,
it's not that.
Mel's about to one-shot it.
I'm really afraid that this is true at MOA and Luke Skywalker.
No.
Is it Krennic and Luke Skywalker?
No!
Get out of there!
Get Orson away from that twink!
This is like if Luke had been allowed to go to the academy.
Girl, run!
Can we talk about Luke Skywalker in his Lana Del Rey era? Because here's my pitch for how this works out. I refuse to know any more about this fic, but my speculation is that Luke is sitting on Tatooine and like finds his very first Lana song and it's like,
I got
I'm
my
fucking
red
crazy.
dress on tonight.
literally he listens to Summertime Sadness and is like, wait a minute. And that's when he leaves Tatooine and gets immediately pulled over and brought to fucking Krennic's office. And Krennic is like, I would like the twink. And that's how this starts.
Oh man. Okay, so we've already done a cursed pairing, so I'm going to do one that is just a batshit concept. It's an AU. The main ship of this is actually like a pretty common one. Nothing wrong with it. It's just the AU that makes me feel crazy. Okay, so it is rated mature. It is there's just one relationship, right? There's one relationship, which is character A and character B. The characters other than them are Leia Organa, Ben Solo, Finn, Rose Tico, BB-8, R2-D2, C-3PO, Dio, Jessica Pava, Cara Dune.
What is she doing here?
Is this Din Luke?
No, hold on. I will not give you what the AU is. I want you to try and guess that. Some other tags to give you some flavor. Modern AU's in there, but I wouldn't call it modern. Vermont is one of the tags.
Bernie?
Bernie Sanders, ex-reader?
No, then one of the ships.
My favorite Star Wars character, Bernie Sanders.
Slow burn, frenemies to lovers, humor, romance, kids being ridiculous, adventure, age difference, fluff, angst, healing, figuring things out. The name of this film that it is an AU of, Freeform. This film, AU, Hurt Comfort, Passionate Kisses. There was only one bid! Enemies to lovers, healthy love. Character A and character B are dorks. Minimal violence, minor character death.
The problem is I only know like one movie that is set in Vermont. Is this movie set in Vermont?
Okay, the weird thing is I don't know why the tag Vermont is there, because this film is not set in Vermont. And that is part of the reason why I brought this to you, because it does, I think they just maybe took the concept out of the original.
The concept of the state of Vermont.
Okay,
that's what's
I was
in
gonna
here.
say it's not Beetlejuice.
Okay, here's the I'm sorry. It's an AU of an AU. So hold on. So
we can't do AUception.
Hold on. So the fill in this movie AU, a wildly different version than the movie, set in modern day Vermont. Character B is in the Witness Protection Program. Cara Dune, the marshal, finds a safe place for character B to live and work at the character A's estate, looking after 6 adopted children.
Not a Sound of Music, AU!
Yes!
Is
The
Ray
Sound of Music in Vermont?
is Ray one of these people?
Yes!
Is Poe Dameron the other one?
Wait, who are the children?
Wait. While the captain flies missions for the First Order, 12th in a long line of nannies, the previous one only stayed 2 days. Will Ray win the children's trust and possibly the heart of a man? Ray hasn't belonged anywhere since before her father died, and Poe is still grieving the loss of his wife. The two butt heads to no end while simultaneously finding healing. It is 21 chapters.
Which one of the kids joins the fucking Nazi party?
One of the kids in Sound of Music joined the Nazi
No, but
party.
there's that one weird blonde side character who sings a
The
song.
one who's like
That's
in a
Liesel's
relationship
boyfriend.
with, yeah.
Who's the wife
Where
that
does
died quickly?
Kylo fit into all of this?
Actually,
He has to be here.
I have to look. Okay, the children and their ages. Rose is 16, so she's Liesel.
No!
3PO is 14.
3PO? What's 3PO's name? Is 3PO's name just 3PO?
Percy Oliver the Third. BB-8 is 13. R2 is 11. His name is Arthur. That makes sense.
Wait, what's BB-8's name?
Bernard.
Baby 8.
Dio is 7, and Jessica Pava is 4.
Dio
Why
Brando,
did Jessica
like from
Pava-
JoJo's Bizarre Adventure.
No.
Dio is a canon character.
He's the little motherfucking droid from Rise of Skywalker.
Also, I don't
He's
know.
like, don't touch me.
I don't know why Ben is texting her in one of these. Remember,
Okay.
this is in
Is
modern
he from
day
the
Vermont.
Abbey?
It's in modern day Vermont. Zori is also in it, and she's when the captain has a girlfriend in The Sound of Music.
Oh my
Where's
god.
Finn?
That is what I'm looking for.
He's the wife who
Maybe
died
he
at
was
war.
the wife
No,
that
wait.
passed away.
I hope it's not.
The idea of C-3PO is the biological child of Finn, though.
That's my new fan cast, is Christopher Plummer as Poe Dameron. Rip to an icon.
Thank you so much for joining us this week for RuPaul's Pod Race. Episodes usually drop on Sundays. For updates, Star Wars news, and more Gerst shit, follow us on social media at RuPaul's Pod Race on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. If you really love the show, please rate and review it on Apple Podcasts. Even if you don't use it as your podcatcher, it is really helpful. Another thing, too, is what do you guys want to see from us? There's a lot of time left until the Book of Boba Fett, and we've got plenty of ideas, but we always love to hear what you guys think we should say. Send us questions in our TikTok Q&A, tweet at us, DM us on Instagram, or send us an email at rupalpspodrace@gmail.com. May the Force be with you, and don't kriff it up.
Waka waka.
Waka.
Waka waka.
Waka waka.
Waka waka.